I don't know what episode this is, and it doesn't really matter, but welcome back to Keeping It Juicy. I have Karen
Aidala.
I'm not good with anyone. Aidala.
Got to give a little.
Aidala. Karen
with the fingers,
Aidala here. But first, we're going to start with our sponsor, and the words are super tiny. So this episode is brought to you by Walks, Wiggles, and Wags, which is a professional pet service company offering dog walking, pet sitting, and pet taxi in Morris County and parts of Sussex County. Their small team of professionally trained employees are dedicated to providing the highest level of care. So they make sure to stay up to date with their pet CPR and first aid certifications. They are fully licensed, insured, and bonded, and have background checks for all of their employees, giving their clients peace of mind. When you choose Walks, Wiggles, and Wags, you can rest assured that your pet is receiving quality and personalized care in the comfort of their home. Follow them on Instagram at Walks, Wiggles, and Wags. Karen.
Yes, Miss Thang.
I'm so happy that you're here.
And I'm happy to be here.
When did we meet?
We met a little over a year ago.
Did we? Where?
At a function on Main Street at the now defunct and sorely missed wellness path.
It's all coming back to me now. Yes. We miss you, Jess. We hope you're doing well. We know you're doing well.
Yes.
So we met and we were talking about, well, first, Karen, tell us about yourself, what you do, your studio, your Instagram, and how people can find you.
So I'm a licensed esthetician. I've been a licensed esthetician for a little over 20 years. I opened my studio, the Alchemy Studio, in October of 2022. And that's what I'm doing, amongst other things. But so you and I met and connected at an event at the Wellness Path, and I introduced myself to you, and your first words to me were, I don't wash my face.
I do wash my armpits, though.
Okay. Priorities.
Yeah, I can only wash a few things at a time.
Yeah.
So that's how Karen was probably, I connect with like magnets with very few people in the world, and Karen is one of them. And yeah, so we started talking about how I don't wash my face at night, which I do now, not every night. But I'm learning. Okay. I do much more skincare because I do see Karen at the Alchemy Studio about once a month. And she is the first person in 35 years who has made me focus on my skin. And she takes you as you are. And she wasn't like, okay, you're here. Let's have you do 75 regimens. She takes you as you are and gets you ready. And you say it differently than I'm saying right now.
I do.
Yeah.
So but the point is that you make, I do take you as you are.
Yeah.
And I love you as you are. Whoever you are when you come through my doors. And we just build out from there. It's baby steps. I'm listening. I'm deeply listening to what you're saying to me. So if you're somebody like Caitlin and you're saying, I don't wash my face every night. Well, I might have thoughts. I'm not.
So you're disgusting.
No, I'm just thinking, okay, well, how can I help this person in such a way and motivate them in such a way?
Yeah. And she has. It's
yeah.
Crazy. So now I do. Well, there are really 3 moisturizers. Yeah, a moisturizer, another one that's tinted and SPF, and then like a spray that I use.
Yeah, they're different in different forms.
Yeah.
In different forms for your skin. Everything is tailored around what you need.
Yeah.
Not what your friend needs or your sister-in-law needs, or it's all about you.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I love Karen. I love everything about her. And so, as always, and as I remind everybody, this is called Keeping It Juicy because we keep it real, raw, and Karen really hasn't shared that much with me. I know you have. When I'm laying on her bed and she's, I like to ask people questions and learn about them, and she's been through a lot in her life, a lot in her life. And honestly, we're coming into this podcast recording right now, and we don't even know exactly what we're going to talk about. And I said, of course, anyone, they need to feel 100% comfortable with what they're sharing. I don't pry it out of them. Although I guess I kind of do. But they have to feel 100% comfortable. So I said, when we sit here, whatever first comes to mind, talk about. And if you feel comfortable, please share. And again, you've been through a lot in your life. So is there anything that has impacted you so much in your life that you've been through, that you feel like other people might be going through right now, that you can share of, when it happened and kind of how you got through it and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, to speak to a little bit of what you just said about you don't know that much about me personally, because I'm someone who's kind of turned, it's really all about the people I'm with. So my focus is always on you
Yeah.
or the person that I'm present to.
Yeah.
So I make it very much not about me. And I've gotten really
It is
good
today, baby.
and I've gotten really good at it.
Also, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
But also the reason I came into doing what I did and what I do is coming out of a very traumatic situation, which was a relationship that was very tumultuous. I always say, if I'm describing that period of my life, I was living a Lifetime movie. And it's very deep and it's very dark and it's very hard to speak of sometimes. And maybe that would be a multi-episode thing at a different time. But what brought me to doing skincare was my own skin and coming into a space of my skin was awful from the toxicity that I was living in and with. And it manifested itself in my body. And my skin was a mess. My body was a mess. I was coming up on my 30th birthday. I booked myself a massage and a facial. And it was a turning point for me.
Wow.
Because that was how I started, in a small way, taking care of myself, which was then allowing me to rebuild myself from an abusive relationship. And it was over time that I started learning more and diving deeper into myself spiritually and psychologically, as well as taking care of my skin and working with an esthetician who very much walked me through some pretty major things in my life as well. That at one point I came to that crossroads within myself and said, well, this is what I want to do for a living. And there was a few times I didn't leap because I felt not as confident in myself. And there was a lot of negativity around me that were not supporting me in doing it. And I just finally said, fuck it, I'm doing this. And at that point, I was a single mother with 2 little boys. And I just went for it. And thankfully, at that point in my life, having suffered a lot of loss and a lot of trauma, I also had built a community of amazing people around me who supported me and cheered me on. And they were family members. They were friends who were my family now, and they were there for me and for my children. And it's a tough thing being a single parent. And it's a tougher thing being a single parent in an area somewhat like this. It was a tough road. It was a really tough road. And then getting through school, and then running with the ball that I was given, because I was not going to be complacent, and realizing that within this industry, I had to make some of my own opportunities to get more opportunities. And working multiple jobs. I mean, I was literally working 7 days a week to support my kids because I was really just on my own. And so I took a part-time job, well, it was really a full-time job in a school working with kids with special needs, which was also an amazing experience. And then after school, I would work in a day spa. And on the weekends, I would work in a hotel spa.
Wow.
So
all for your kids.
For my kids.
And you have 2 boys.
I have 2 boys who are now men.
They're still boys.
There's always my boys, but they are men. They're 31 and 27 now.
Wow. And there's a woman in my, in the world that I don't know her very well, but she's going through a divorce. She has 2 young boys. And I'm sure there are hundreds, millions of the same.
Yeah.
So if you can share, what was one of the hardest things going through that? I mean, you talked about obviously having to support them, not having support yourself, working multiple jobs. Is there anything else that you really remember that was one of the hardest parts about raising 2 kids on your own?
Trying not to be scared out of my mind all the time. And trying not to make decisions from that place of fear, which is so hard to do. And I was not good at that. and made some bad decisions, I know. But you run on adrenaline. You're just purely a ball of adrenaline. And I think it's so important for women to be compassionate to one another, especially when they're in that situation. And I was really, really fortunate in that I had met and connected with, and to this day, they're two of my best friends, two women whose children were in the same age group. And we kind of raised our children as pack. And even our kids, all of them to this day, they're all in their, mid to late 20s, early 30s. And they still all refer to each other as family, because we need to be lifting each other up and creating community and finding community and reaching out to one another when you see that situation, because everyone's always looking at everyone else's highlight reels.
You know it.
And thinking that that's what their life really is. But which is why I love you, because you keep it real. You keep it juicy.
Juicy.
But it's real.
And when you say that, what triggers me the most is, I don't know if you remember that the person who was the DJ for the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Mm-hmm. I do.
And he came across dancing on his Instagram and with his wife and doing all these things, and he committed suicide. And I was so shook by that, because it looked like he had this fantastic life, this money, this family, all these things. And he must have been going through so much inside. And it's just, again, the highlight reels and these people who are wearing all this makeup and they're beautiful, they could be hurting so much inside and not sharing it. So don't ever compare yourself to any of these highlight reels.
But it's so hard, because and you see how much things like Instagram and Facebook at one time to affect TikTok. I'm not a TikToker.
Me neither.
You know that.
Me neither.
But it affects people's mental health.
Oh, 100%.
And that plays into it too, and what everything is supposed to look like and what we're all supposed to look like. And that's, one of the things about my studio is I want it to be a place where when you walk in the door, you feel like you can just take a deep breath and put it all down, because just come as you are and be your own kind of beautiful, because we all are our own kinds of beautiful. Like, doesn't matter, what makeup you wear, what clothes you're wearing, what purse you're carrying, what car you're driving. And in an area like this where there's so much abundance, it's so easy to get sucked into all of that and judge all of that. And at the end of the day, we're taking off the makeup, we hope, and just, we all are doing the same things, same simple routines, on a day-to-day basis, just to be connected on a human level. And we lose that, I think, sometimes.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you say that, because I feel like I'm going through a transition in my life in general. I haven't drank in a few months, and it's the stuff that doesn't matter. And it's, and I grew up in an area just like this, and the Mercedes and these types of things. And it's like someone can drive a Range Rover and it could be overdue 12 months of payment. They can have no money in their bank account. They can have no 401k, no IRA. And it's just, stuff is literally nothing. Stuff is nothing.
Well, it's funny. You mentioned you could be driving around in a Range Rover. There was a point in my life I was driving around in a Range Rover that I could not pay for anymore, and I was saddled with a lot of debt. And one of the things that had to go, and I didn't cry about it that I had to get rid of it. I mean, my kids loved the car, we had fun in it, but it didn't matter to me. And that was one of the, I had to go in and apply for food stamps. And they asked me what kind of car I drove. And, here's somebody driving around in a Range Rover who had to apply for food stamps. And I didn't qualify.
That damn Range Rover.
But that was part of the problem. And I couldn't afford to feed my family. So, again, you don't know. And I remember, too, when we had moved over this way, my younger son was in middle school. And they were doing a drive to to collect donations for toiletries to donate. And he came home one day very upset. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, the teacher who's leading this drive he essentially said kind of shamed people for what they didn't bring in to share with others. Like, come on, you guys, you come from a better area, you can afford more. And all I could think about was that at a different time in my life, there isn't much I probably could have spared to donate. And, I called the school, I spoke to the assistant principal discreetly, and I just said, hey, listen, I know this is an area with a lot, but it can't be assumed that everyone can afford it. And again, we look around and we see the highlight reels, but we're not knowing what goes on behind the scenes. So it's
so true.
Carry some compassion for
just
others.
A little bit, please. This was fantastic. It goes by so fast.
It does.
I know.
Does.
People do say they want longer episodes, so we'll have to season 2. I don't know. We're not going to have a season, but I do have my 3 questions that I ask everybody if I remember. If you were on death row, what would your last meal be?
Oh man, that's brutal. What would be my last meal? Something from James on Maine. Like none of their meat things, but like either like a fish or like they do have a secret like vegetarian and vegan meals
not
menu,
secret anymore.
so it's not secret anymore. But yeah, that would be something from them for sure.
I need to go back there. We need to go back there together.
No, we have a date. We have a date. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And then, what is your biggest fear in life?
What
is one of your
I don't know that I have so many anymore because I feel like a lot that I feared maybe somewhere I've kind of like looked in the eye and
said fuck off.
Pretty much, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I love to hear it. Maybe the sun is one of your biggest fears. For your skin. And then I always ask, I don't think we should have regrets, but if there is there anything that you look back that you would maybe change, do a little bit differently? Like for me, it's like I was mean to my mother when I was a teenager, and I really wish I wasn't. Is there anything for you?
I wish I had the wherewithal to not operate out of fear so much, and then sometimes respond out of fear the way that I did.
Yeah, because you never should make decisions when you're scared and fear or anger or angry. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or said the things that, you say or whatever. But that's for sure.
Awesome. Well, Karen, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I need to make my appointment for my skin.
Yes, you do.
And just be yourself. Don't compare yourself to others, and always know that if you're going through something tough right now, that you will get through it, and this too shall pass. And as always, keep it juicy. Thank you for listening to this episode of Keeping It Juicy. You can find this episode and all the rest on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And as always, don't forget, keep it juicy.